A young man named Jonas attends with his parents the funeral of his grandmother, who was chewed up by a dog. 4 months later, Jonas' parents are riding in a car and talking about his father's relationship with his grandfather Frederick. Suddenly, an oncoming car pulls out and the father, trying to avoid a head-on collision, drives off into a ditch and crashes into a tree. No one survived the accident. Jonas spends the next few days at his parents' funeral with his friends Flo, Jewel, and Nina, who have come to support the boy. He is gripped by grief and despair, but Nina tries to comfort him. Later, people gather at Frederick's grandfather's house to pay their respects to the deceased family. The grandfather approaches his grandson and tells him that he doesn't have to move to Bavaria to stay with his aunt, and he can stay with him on the island until he turns 18. 1 year has passed. Jonas' pain has subsided. We see a picture of him catching up with his friends on their bikes, and they head off to school together. In the middle of the school day, a lady enters the classroom and tells the class to follow her outside. She gathers the children around and tells them that their teacher, Mr. Manecki, had an accident while on vacation in Mallorca, and she will be their German teacher this year. The woman then introduces herself as Helena Jung. After class, Jonas and Flo are sitting outside chatting. Then Helena approaches them and asks if they are free this evening, and if they can help with the furniture. After she moves, Nina overhears and quickly offers her help. The guys meet up together and head to the teacher's house. Upon arriving at the house, the guys set about assembling the closet while Nina is left downstairs to trim the carpeting. She goes to the closet and finds a suitcase with a tag that says Majorca. Suddenly, Helena walks in and asks in puzzlement what the girl is looking for here, and Nina replies that she needs a piece of wood to cut. The woman gives the girl the item she needs and Nina leaves. Helena notices, though, that she forgot to take the tag off her suitcase. Upstairs, the boys are finally done with the closet, but then Nina walks in and her leg is covered in blood. She's cut herself badly, so Flo takes her to the hospital. Once everyone has left, Helena goes back into the closet and rips the tag off the suitcase. That night, we see a picture of a woman sitting at her desk with pictures of Jonas everywhere, and it seems like she's been stalking him. She collects all the photos and sets them on fire in the sink. The next morning, Jonas meets Helena at the beach, who, like him, is taking her morning jog. They have a conversation, and the lady wonders if he is dating Mayna, and the guy answers in the negative. In class, Helena gives the students an assignment to write a poem. After class is over, Nina goes to Jonas' house for help. In the next lesson, Nina reads out her work, and Helena realizes that the girl did not write it. She asks Jonas about it, and he admits that he did. The teacher keeps expressing her admiration and says that the boy is talented. The woman asks about his other works and asks him to show them. And so we are transported again to Helena's house, who this time is working in the garden and happens to notice Jonas trying to put a package in her mailbox. She runs up to him, takes out the contents, and invites him inside. After exhausting work in the garden, the woman goes to take a shower and the guy peeks at her through the door. A few hours later, Helena has finished Jonah's latest work and he asks her opinion, after which he sees that she is moved to tears. As the guy wipes the tears from the woman's face, they exchange a meaningful kiss that quickly turns into something more. The next morning, Jonas meets Helena on his way to school. He tells her that what happened earlier was a mistake. On the way, they pass Nina, who is surprised by what she sees. In class, Jewel and Nina notice the strange behavior of the teacher. After the class is over, the girl confesses that she didn't write the poem. Going outside, she tells Jonas about it, and he tells her that the teacher guessed it herself. In the next scene, Nina helps the boy clean up his parents' house. Jonas remembers his loss and starts crying. Nina embraces him, and they exchange a loving kiss. The girl assures him that he will not lose her like his parents. A day later, there is a small seminar at the school where Grandpa Frederick is giving his speech and notices Helena standing in the distance, now with her hair cut short. The man looks as if he has seen a ghost and falls to the ground. We move to Frederick's house, who has already recovered from his fainting spell. Nina tells Jonas that his grandfather saw Helena at that moment. The confused boy does not believe her. The girl leaves the house in upset feelings. That night, Jonas wakes up next to Helena. She kisses him and makes love to him. In the morning, the woman quietly leaves the house, but Nina notices her and in anger leaves breakfast for the guy on the porch. A few hours later, Nina and Jewel are jogging on the beach at pace. She tells her friend what happened this morning, as well as what happened at the seminar. Then Jewel tells her that her father had a teacher who looked just like Helena and had the same hair. That same morning, Jonas is going to school, but his grandfather asks him not to go. The boy wonders if it has something to do with his teacher, but Frederick quickly brushes it off. Jonas tells him what Mina saw, and the grandfather replies that perhaps she was dreaming. The grandfather hands his grandson the breakfast Mina left behind, which helps Jonas realize that the girl saw Helena leaving his house in the morning. At school, Mina is looking through old school albums in the library. She finds a picture of Helena with a different name, Maria Road. Suddenly, the teacher enters and the girl asks her why she came to the island. Afraid that Nina will tell Jonas everything, the woman kills her. Meanwhile, the guy wanders the hallways looking for Nina. Helena thwarts him and returns to the library to hide the body. The woman takes duct tape and rope, then ties the murdered girl with a curtain and later carries the load to her car. On the way, she realizes she forgot about the bicycle the girl arrived on and goes back to get it. On the beach, Jonas finds his friends. He asks about Nina. The guys inform him that the girl was at school this morning. Meanwhile, Helena is on the other side of the beach disposing of Mina's body. Later, we see a picture of the girl receiving a message from Jonas telling her that he wants to meet as soon as possible. At the meeting, the guy informs her that her friend is missing. Helena assures that the girl is jealous of him because of what she saw in the morning, so she proposes to stay friends. But Jonas does not agree with such a proposal and kisses her. They spend the night together. The next morning, Frederick wakes his grandson and informs him that Nina's body has been found on the beach. When they get there, we see a devastated Jonas, and Frederick faints again and is taken to the hospital. Later, Jonas and Flo realize that Nina's death was no accident. In the school library, Jewel tells the boys about her hunches. They start looking through the yearbook and realize that there are pages missing. They then try to find information on the school website and find a picture of Frederick with Mary Road. The boys learn that she drowned. Meanwhile, Helena visits Frederick in the hospital, and he looks at her in horror. The woman accuses him of killing her mother, and now it turns out that Frederick is her father who wanted nothing to do with her or her mother. So now she's back for revenge. She confesses to the murders she committed earlier. The next morning, Jonas is awakened by an ambulance delivering Frederick. The guy, knowing her secret, now treats her with distrust and asks what she is doing here. He then wonders what her mother's name is, but their conversation is interrupted by a call from Flo. The woman invites the guy to answer and assures him that she will tell him everything later. Helena goes into the house to make coffee and pours powder into Jonas' cup. Frederick is completely helpless. The woman takes him over to the window and forces him to look at what is happening. She gives Jonas coffee and tells him that her mom had an affair with his grandfather, which makes Helena his aunt. The guy starts to feel the effects of the powder and practically passes out. The distraught woman drags him to the lake and tries to drown him. Jonas beats Helena with a net and starts running back to the house, where he finds Frederick lying on the floor, holding the letter that Maria left him. Suddenly, Helena flies into the house and starts choking the guy. Before he can exhale, he grabs a shard of glass and stabs her in the heart. A few days later, Jonas is sailing on a ship and suddenly notices a girl wearing a yellow cloak similar to the one Helena wore. Distraught, he follows the stranger. However, it turns out to be just an ordinary girl. Jonas is now at peace, knowing that he can start a new chapter of his life. And this is where the movie ends.